from Orlando Tourism Report, one of my fellow hosts on the Orlando Tourism Report. And if you don't listen to that on Thursdays from 10 to 12 on WPRK.org or 91.5 WPRK FM in Orlando, then you're completely missing out. And we have Ken here today to talk about Skyplex stuff because he was at the commissioners meeting, and he's actually so happy about today's announcement that he has some champagne there.
And Taco Bell. I have Taco Bell as well.
Taco Bell and champagne. That's a Ken celebration if I ever heard one before in my life. All right. So before we get into our podcast here and we get to talk to Ken in a little bit here, and feel free to chime in whenever, Ken. We're going to thank our sponsors real fast. We want to thank Orlando Stroller Rentals. Make your Orlando area vacation roll smoothly with help from the best Orlando Stroller Rental Company. Everyone in your family will enjoy their vacation to the world-famous theme parks, especially the kids. Rent a clean, comfortable stroller from Orlando Stroller Rentals to travel with you throughout your Orlando theme park vacation. Their strollers were built to easily maneuver crowds and narrow attraction queue lines with ease. Whether you're park hopping or shopping at the outlet malls, you'll always have a safe, comfortable, and clean place for tired children to take a quick nap. Visit them today at orlandostrollerrentals.com or call 1-800-281-0884. That's 1-800-281-0884. That's orlandostrollerrentals.com. We want to thank Kingdom Consultants, your experts in Disney travel. Vacations require a lot of time for planning, which many of us just don't have. So let the experts at Kingdom Consultants Travel do the work for you. And best of all, they don't charge a fee for their services. Whether it's a trip to Disneyland, or Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, or Adventures by Disney, luxury guided tours, Kingdom Consultants Travel allows you to kick back and relax, leaving the planning to those who know it best. Kingdom Consultant Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner. Keep them in mind for your non-Disney travel also. Visit them today at kingdomconsultant.com. That's Kingdom Consultant. That's consultant with a K, KONSULTANT.com. Or toll free at 1-866-566-7858. That's 1-866-566-7858. And also check out MapleLeafTickets.com. If you haven't checked them out already, please check them out now. They've been providing discount Orlando area attraction tickets for more than 30 years. Visit them today at MapleLeafTickets.com or call 1-800-841-2837. That's 1-800-841-2837. That's MapleLeafTickets.com. And we're going to kick things off here. Ken, feel free to chime in whenever you want. We're going to kick things off with the news here. And we are going to look at some news coming out of Walt Disney World. We're going to look at some refurbishments for December 2015. Closing Tomorrowland Transit Authority will be closed from December 7th to December 10th. Captain EO is closing permanently this Sunday, December 6th. Uzima Pool and Area at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, December 14th to the 16th. The Bowling Pin Alley at Bowling Pin Pool at Disney's Pop Century is closing December 7th to December 10th. And some of the stuff that's been closed already. Some of All Thrills at Epcot, Blizzard Beach Water Park, Grand Slam Pool at Disney's All-Star Sports Resort, Quiet Pool at Disney's Polynesian Village, Hidden Springs Leisure Pool, and Teton Boat and Bike Rental at Disney's Wilderness Lodge Resort, Computer Pool at Disney's Pop Century Resort, and the Kiddie Pool at Disney's Port Orleans French Quarter. So there you go. If you want to go to any of these pools, they are closed at the moment. More than pools there, but all kinds of stuff. The Holidays Happen Here dance party begins today at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Beginning today, guests can enjoy the Holidays Happen Here dance party at Disney's Hollywood Studios. The new offering will take place at Center Stage in front of the Great Movie Ride, where a DJ will spin holiday tunes and other Disney favorites as characters dance and join in the fun. The party will take place from 5 p.m. to park close and last through the holiday season. And you can also experience the Club Disney at the Sunset Ranch stage next to Rock and Roller Coaster. If you want to check that out there, that is open today as well. And also Star Wars Launch Bay. Star Wars needs basically a preview, sort of like a preview center for Star Wars Land, but they have meet and greets for the characters. And they have a little mini museum in there, and they also have tons of Star Wars merchandise.
And not a preview center for Land. It's more promotional stuff for the new
The movie.
This didn't look very impressive. The one in LA looked really nice, but I have to say, just looking through the pics today, this one doesn't look nearly as good as the one in LA, or the one, in California.
I agree 100%. The Club Disney looked way better than this. I mean, there was just so much more that this just looks like a temporary retheming, whereas like the Club Disney almost looks permanent. It just looks really good. Enchanted Tales with Belle, extra at Magic Kingdom removed from evening extra magic hours. The Enchanted Tales with Belle has been removed. It'll be continuing to be offered during morning extra hours though. Only the evening extra hours. As a reminder, extra magic hours are exclusive to Disney Resort guests staying on property. During this time, guests have the opportunity to enjoy additional time in the parks are in select morning and beyond the normal operating schedule. Okay, here. Josh Gad visited Walt Disney World over this past few weeks here, November 24th. He was vacationing at the Magic Kingdom. He's got a picture with Gaston here. Walt Disney World and Resort and Good Morning America on our hometown heroes, Walt Disney World Resort and ABC's Good Morning America, work together to create unforgettable experiences for two hometown hero families who went above and beyond their force to help others serving the U.S. and Air Force overseas. So there you go. There's a Star Wars The Force Awakens monorail now at Walt Disney World. Mickey's Very Merry Christmas party is sold out on December 18th. The Kenny and the Lumberjack show has ended. And a new show has arose at Epcot, The Quick Step, which Ed got to see yesterday. We'll talk about that later. Neil Patrick Harris.
Can I ask a quick question? I'm sorry.
Yes.
The monorail, the Star Wars monorail, what loop is it on?
I think it's Resort.
Yeah,
okay,
Resort.
Okay. Interesting. I think it'd be really cool to see the Star Wars. I think it'd be really cool to see the Star Wars monorail like rolling through Future World.
That would be
I guess that's not going to happen.
Well, sometimes they have restrictions on where they can go. I don't know. It's weird. Neil Patrick Harris is doing Candlelight tonight and till the 3rd. And then you have Whoopi Goldberg on the 4th and 5th. Shows are held at the American Gardens Theater and World Showcase at Epcot with show times at 5, 6:45, and 8:15 p.m. each night. Disney's Hollywood Studios has extended hours on December 4th and 5th. The park will now close at 9 p.m. on the 4th and 9:30 p.m. on the 5th. Disney Springs celebrates its first holiday season. You can look at photos on our website of that. World of Disney Store has expanded. You can check that out too. And the Ganachery is opening December 15th at Disney Springs. So there you go there. So some news from Universal Studios. They've extended the Beetlejuice Graveyard Review until January 5th, 2016. Lots of fans happy about this. I don't see the buzz over this show. Is it really that good? Ken, you could tell me. Is it really worth all this excitement? I don't think it is. I've seen it once or twice. It's not like the best thing ever. Ken left me.
Wait, he's muted.
Oh.
Isn't he?
Ken, are you there? I think we lost Ken. Okay, well, we'll get moving on. We lost Ken. He'll be back in a second.
Okay.
All right. We'll ask him again when he comes back. Let's see here. That's gonna do it. Actually, let me go in here. Whoops. Busch Gardens Christmas Town upgrades are now available. The new Holly Christmas Town transforms Busch Gardens into a wonderful wonderland of Christmas time entertainment and the best way to unwrap the cheer with an all-new exclusive experiences that you and your family will treasure forever. 'Tis the season for a holly jolly Christmas party where spectacular Yuletide celebrations await. Mrs. Claus and her elves join you for dinner with a delicious all-you-can-eat pizza and salad buffet at the Garden Gate Cafe. I can tell you anything, and Ken, if you're there, are you there, Ken? I think I am
here. I am here.
Okay. So when you hear Garden Gate Cafe and all-you-can-eat pizza and salad buffet at Busch Gardens, what do you think?
Oh, I think of the old pizza buffet they had.
That is where the old pizza buffet was.
I enjoyed it, but most people did not.
I did not enjoy it.
I did.
Yeah, see?
But you enjoy CC's, so.
I love CC's, yeah. I'm the mayor of like 3 CC's.
Oh, my gosh. What?
It's just funny.
Well, I'm still sad about Malange.
Yeah.
I'm sore about that one.
Way to go, Captain Bring Down.
Oh, that was a good place, though.
They were giving it away.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
New Christmas Town VIP experience to wrap all the magic of the holidays during the Christmas Town VIP experience. A 3-hour guided tour that is sure to make your Christmas time memories even more merry and bright. This ultimate experience is complete with front-of-the-line access to Santa's house presented by Coca-Cola, where the Claus family invites you into their North Pole home as the elves prepare for Christmas there. Santa will take a break from his busy holiday schedule to meet and take photos within his private study. An exclusive up-close encounter with Busch Gardens African penguins. Fun holiday activities at the Holly Jolly Christmas party, including writing a letter to Santa, decorating decadent cupcakes, and singing classic Christmas carols. Delicious pizza and salad buffet hosted by Mrs. Claus and her elves at the Garden Gate Cafe, or a holiday feast at the Crown Colony restaurant for an additional fee, which that is actually a really good feast if you haven't done that already. The VIP seating for Christmas on Ice, where Yuletide memories, deadline-driven elves, and the big man himself come together to celebrate the many wonders of Christmas during the holiday spectacular. Commemorative photo with Santa Claus and refillable hot chocolate mug. So there you go. Check out Christmas Town. Should be a lot of fun this year. It's always a great-looking event. So there you go. Oh, Ken, what I wanted to ask you, if you're there, the Hollywood, or excuse me, the Universal Beetlejuice show, is it worth all the hype?
Is it worth what?
All the hype. A lot of people are really excited about the Beetlejuice show coming back for another month. Is it worth all this excitement?
This version is not. I think that why people are hyped is it's something that's been in the park for a very long time. It's one of the oldest attractions in the park. They keep updating it. Each update is worse than the last. I think that it's not that they are hyped about the show itself. They are hyped about more the idea. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the people who like the Tiki Room. Like, let's all admit, the Tiki Room sucks these days. But people love it because of the memories of the Tiki Room.
I can understand that.
Sorry, Tiki Room levels.
There are a lot of hardcore fans for the Beetlejuice show, though.
Yeah.
More so than any other Universal show that I've ever seen.
Well, Universal doesn't have that many shows.
True.
I mean, when you gonna have a hardcore fan, you're not gonna have a hardcore fan for Fear Factor Live. So there's not a lot of other things for them to choose from.
Don't discredit people who really like Fear Factor. I myself happen to enjoy Fear Factor Live, even though it has no relevance whatsoever anytime, because there was no Fear Factor show, and they brought it back for it had 2 episodes and then they canceled it again. But then they brought back the show at Universal because of that, and
it's one of the worst shows ever in any theme park in the history of the world.
But they eat bugs and stuff.
Exactly. Why would you want to go and pay $90 to watch a person throw up from eating bugs? No, skip that and go on Transformers a second time.
And see a bunch of screens.
It's better. I'd rather see screens than people throwing up.
All right, continuing on. We're gonna go to Ed with the Twitter and weather segment. Or the weather and then the Twitter.
Okay, I guess. Okay. Cool. Starting with Wednesday, December 2nd. It's going to be mostly cloudy with a high of 86 and a low of 68 with 20% chance of rain. Then Thursday, December 3rd. It's going to be cloudy with a high of 71 and a low of 62 with 20% chance of rain. Then on Friday, mostly cloudy with a high of 74 and a low of 66 with 20% chance of rain. Then on Saturday, it's gonna be cloudy and windy with a high of 75 and a low of 66. Then Sunday, mostly cloudy with a high of 77 and a low of 65, 10% chance of rain. Now, as far as rumors, well, as today noted that the Skyplex got.
Well, if you have any Skyplex stuff, let's talk about that with Ken.
No. This is not Skyplex stuff. This is just a lead-in.
Is it for the Universal stuff?
Yes.
All right, we'll talk about that later. We'll go back to that in a minute.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of comments on that as well.
Ken unmuted his mic, so we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to have a really long discussion about that.
Yes.
All right, continue on with it. Do you have any other stuff that?
One more. This is for Hollywood Studios. There has been a permit filed for more fireworks. I guess more firework launchers. That's probably for all the Star Wars stuff and maybe Star Wars Land, for the Star Wars celebration. So
can I ask a question about this?
Yes.
So the firework. I don't know where the new launch location is.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I'm assuming backstage, probably behind where back lot is.
I would have to assume that this is replacing one that's being taken away because of construction. Would that be a safe assumption?
Oh, that's a good idea. I never thought about that. That's true. Don't they have one behind in front of there's a giant tower in front of our thing in front of a Mermaid. There's there's a wall of lights, and I think there's firework launchers in there too.
I don't think.
Well, isn't there one oval by Toy Story Mania in that area, back behind that, where the new Toy Story Land is going?
I think so.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm probably off, but I could have sworn something.
Someone needs to post a map that shows where the launch locations are for us.
I know where it is for Magic Kingdom. You can't.
Well, yeah, that one's an easy one. Mm-hmm. I know where it is for Epcot.
Yeah. The Magic Kingdom one, you can't even. There's a road back there. You can't even get close to it.
Yeah.
I did. When we went to Epcot the other day or yesterday, we did get a chance to talk with the one of the pyrotechnic guys about the World War III barges for the holiday fireworks show, and that was pretty interesting.
I'm sorry, I interrupted Ed.
The ones with the cages on them, he said they load them up good.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What did you say?
I was apologizing to Ed for interrupting him.
Oh, you got it. Yeah, I'm done.
All right, so
are you done, or are you just done because I interrupted you? You're like, I'm done. I'm out of here.
That's all I had that I can.
Ken is an interrupting cow.
No,
I'm sorry.
That's all I had for now.
For now, okay. All right, so before we get into talking about all the stuff that we need to talk about, because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about that, but I want to talk about near music. I want to talk about holidays around the world at Epcot, because I did this Sunday and I did it Monday, and I absolutely love holidays around the world. I think it is my second favorite holiday experience in Orlando. First, of course, being SeaWorld, which I'll get to soon enough, but holidays around the world is my second favorite, and I'll tell you why. It's a very I think it's very cool that we get to experience all these holidays from different cultures in a setting like World Showcase, and it's actually very good. And they cover all aspects of the holidays. They have Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Chinese New Year, Japanese New Year, all these different things. And the other thing is they even have candlelight, so it covers that if you want that churchy candlelight type show. So holidays around the world is fantastic. We did it this year. They add all these extra food booths to have extra. They have each country has one extra holiday food item for whatever it is for their holiday thing. Some America has peppermint bark and gingerbread cookies and things like that, and then other countries have things and so on and so forth. So it's interesting. So I just want to say quickly. I mean, I'll give you like a quick synopsis, and maybe I'll let Ed talk a little bit. But I really enjoy the event every year, and this year was no different. Most of the shows were the same as we saw last year, and my mic is going crazy again. But most of the shows were the same as we saw last year. But it was fantastic. I'm gonna send it over to Ed to talk for a minute. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so most of the shows were the same as we saw last year, but it was absolutely a great event this year. All the shows were fantastic. I loved the China show with the Chinese New Year show with the good luck lion dancers. Sigrid and Yulsen, the mischievous gnome Santa in Norway is always a favorite of mine. It's just a great event. You really just have to go there, get a times guide, plan out to see all these shows, and then go to each one and watch them. And then the other aspect of it too is check these different booths. They have different booths laid out. There's one in Germany, the Prost booth. Also check out some of the booths in the countries, the booths that are out on the pathways there. Some of those actually have food items as well. Like in Japan, the booth that sells kakigori has a sausage item, like a Japanese holiday sausage, which Ed tried, which he said was okay.
Yeah, it was just
most of this stuff is like made up. It's like the whole pickle in Germany. No one in Germany has seen this whole pickle on a tree thing. All this stuff is just made up. It's just fake traditions trying to sell you stuff.
Oh, well, I didn't know about that.
I'm sorry.
Thanks for ruining it. But I mean, but like the French Santa and all that, that's like real, and like Father Christmas and all that, that's real.
It's like 80% real and 20% Disney.
Well, and then you know what? I'll take the 20% Disney.
Reality.
In all seriousness, though, it is a really good event. And listen, where else can you go and learn about Kwanzaa? I mean, besides, listen, and like a show where like there's dancing and Kwanzaa and Kumbaya, and okay, fine. I
think there was a BET special last year I saw.
See, that's probably.
You know what? The Kwanzaa show at Epcot is pretty fantastic, and you guys are not going to kill me on this.
Safeway Network.
I'm quickly regretting having Ken
Network.
on. No, I'm quickly regretting having Ken on our show now, and I'm just kidding. Okay, no, but seriously though, I like this stuff at Epcot. It's fantastic. Holidays around the world, you get to learn about cool stuff. Whether you believe it or not, it's still entertaining. And the only thing I ask is that they add Krampus next year. If we could get Krampus, then we'll be good to go. We need a Krampus
I don't
Christmas.
know.
I'm kidding.
You might want to see after how the movie does.
That's true. That would be
Is that the one with the beer cans on the pole?
No.
I don't know what that one is.
Because up in the state capitol, they have a manger scene, and then they have, because of a manger scene, they have a scene dedicated to Satan. And now, because of a manger scene and a scene dedicated to Satan, now they also have a holiday display that's beer cans on a pole. So each year, up in the Florida State Capitol.
That's for the Spaghetti Monster?
Is it the spaghetti? I don't know who it's for.
I have no idea. I made it. They're appeasing somebody. I don't know.
Buddha?
Maybe. You never know.
I don't know.
But seriously, though, I really like holidays around the world. It's fun. The park gets really festive. Everyone's having a good time. They have a lot of music and stuff around the parks, and there's a lot of shows and things. And it was a really good time. Ed, is there anything you want to add about this?
No, the shows are great there. Going to each country and learning about holiday traditions are good.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that is holidays around the world at Epcot. Get there. I'm going to get some videos up soon. I promise you, of the shows and stuff on YouTube. I'll get them up soon for you guys. Just take me a little bit of time to get them edited, but I will get them up. I promise you. So we will have that soon. So that is not a problem at all. All right, guys, moving on here. And apparently, I don't know.
Do you still want to talk about Epcot stuff?
Yeah, you talk. If you want to have some more stuff to say about Epcot, go ahead.
We'll add the new show.
Oh yes,
Yes,
we do need to talk about that.
It's a new show. It's called Quick Step. Now, I need to double check this, but from what I saw from the old show and new show, what it looks like, yeah, the old show was called the Paul McKenna Band, and they mostly did They just did Scottish music. Now, what's different now is they actually do Irish and Scottish music. But the way it seems like I don't know, but it seems like one guy left, and something happened, and he left. So they started to rebrand it, and I think the rebranding is better because nothing against Scottish music, but if they're going to do this type of show, they actually need to do Scottish and Irish. And they actually were pretty good. I don't know what songs they did because I don't really know. But there was an Irish song in there. I know that, and it was really good. So I just, so you're still going to get the same type of show. Now it's just going to be with Irish music, which I think is better.
Okay. That sounds really good. I'll have to check it out. I have not checked it out yet, but I'll have to check it out. And if my my video is being weird tonight, I have no idea what is going on. So I apologize in advance for that if you are watching live. It's being kind of jumpy. I don't know what the deal is. But okay. We're going to move into we're going to switch gears here. And we've been covering this on a little bit on the Mickey Updates podcast, and we've been covering this heavily on another show that I do, the Orlando Tourism Report, which is hosted by Kenneth Storey here. And we do a weekly radio show. We also do a weekly podcast. It's one of the best podcasts in Orlando, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on it. It seriously is one of the best podcasts in Orlando. And of course, we have Ken to thank for it being so awesome because he really has his hand on the pulse of what's happening in the community as far as the commissioners meetings and all these different things and things that I don't even realize. And the commissioners even know him. He actually spoke today at the meeting for Skyplex, and the commissioner said, "Hey, are you the Ken Storey from Twitter?" And he was like, "Yes," and Facebook too. And they were excited to meet him. So
it was very odd. It definitely threw me off.
we're definitely in the presence of a celebrity here on the show tonight. This is the first time we've ever had a real celebrity on the show here. No, we couldn't get Celine Dion, but we got the next best thing, which is Ken Storey.
You didn't catch where that was.
I hear the rumor is that Celine Dion may be stopping by Orlando soon.
Oh.
So there you go.
Is that a real thing? Or you're just starting that?
I just made that up. I'm sorry.
Celine Dion next week, Orlando. Make it happen. Start spreading. Tell all your friends. You know what? If you love this podcast and you love it so much that you want to help us out, tell all your friends that Celine Dion is coming to Orlando next week. And she is in talks with Universal for a new attraction. Let's start some rumor between Celine Dion and Universal.
Well, they have this new acreage, so maybe they could do a whole theme park dedicated to her.
So let's get right into this and talk about this for a minute. So basically what we had today is the county commission, board of commissioners or whatever. Is it board of commissioners? What is it, Ken?
It's the board of commissioners, yeah.
Yeah, board of commissioners got together today, and they had a very long meeting that went on from 9 a.m. till like 7-8 o'clock at night.
It was actually I do have to. It was technically two meetings. They had one that went from 9 a.m. until about 11:30. Then they broke for lunch. They had a employee awards ceremony that was supposed to end at 2. It didn't really end until about 2:30.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went into the afternoon meeting, and that went from about 2:30 to about 7:15.
Okay.
The one
so we have what? Okay. So we had this meeting today, and basically Skyplex has been in the news for a while. If you don't know, Skyplex is the 600-foot. Well, now it's a 600-foot tower that is going to be built on I-Drive at Sand Lake and International Drive there, in that little area of town there. And they're talking about not just a sky coaster, which everyone knows the polar coaster is going to go in with this 501-foot tall polar coaster, and There's going to be a drop tower connected in the middle, but in the middle there, on the pole there, and there's going to be like a restaurant on top there, like a revolving restaurant, and there's all kinds of stuff. It's a whole complex, a hotel. There's going to be this pool area. There's just a lot of stuff being built. I mean, this is a major, probably one of the biggest expansions in Orlando. Even I would consider it much bigger than, say, like I Drive 360. I mean, this is a pretty big deal. So we have this area of I Drive, and it's been very controversial. And really, what it comes down to, and if you haven't watched already, I've been doing a new video series, Rob's Rants, and I talked about this. And really, what it's come down to is Universal has had this opposition to this project because it in some way it affects them. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But Universal has had this opposition to the project, and they've been sending out flyers to all the people in Orlando saying, hey, don't support this project. This is why we don't want this here. I don't think it said them on the flyers that they were the ones sending it out, but they sent out flyers. We all knew it was them. And, these flyers were just totally baseless and out of this world, incorrect. And, said things like this is going to be an 800-foot, 700-foot tower.
And I'll actually get to the thing, because that was the closing of the meeting today. Was the Joshua Wallach, the Skyplex team. They actually went through each of the points on the flyer and showed what the flyer said, and then presented what the truth was.
I remember that. That was actually really good.
Yeah.
So we have that. So basically, it's this large project, and look it up on YouTube, and you can see video of this thing that's going to get built. It's going to house just amazing things, and there's things coming in the future that I can't talk about yet that I know about that are in the works for this project, and Ken knows about them too. And it's just going to be awesome. So it's just going to be a really awesome project. And when this thing gets built, you guys are going to just lose your mind. And I'm sure I'm leaving stuff out. I mean, they were talking about the world's largest surf pool on the top of the hotel for this thing, and it's just going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. So we have this coming. It's been fought by the county commission for a while, and there's been people that have been commissioners that have been against it. And so,
there was never a commissioner that actually came out against it. There was one commissioner who requested a community meeting. The only people in the county who was against this was actually the Planning and Zoning Board. And remember, even there, though, it was a 4-3, so it was a very close there.
Didn't the mayor come out against this too?
No, that was the mayor of Orlando, Buddy Dyer. Now, the city of Orlando, yes, they've had a number of people come out against it. This is not in the city limits, though. What is in the city limits is Universal Studios.
Okay.
So, yeah, Orlando's against it, but the county itself has not come out against it.
Okay. So we have that whole thing going on. It's just been a complete and utter mess. And this is why we have Ken here to explain the mess like he just did, a second ago. Mm-hmm. So it's just been a complete mess, and Universal's hands have been in all of it. It really has been their hands in it. And Ken, I don't know if you noticed this today, just a side note, but a lot of these communities, there was maybe like 3 or 4 communities, like neighborhoods that spoke out against Skyplex. And I kind of picked up on a vibe, like a couple of them said, hey, we've worked with Universal closely, and we've worked with Universal in the past. I kept hearing the Universal name came up, and I could almost tell, when they said they worked with Universal, that was going to be an against Skyplex, which was very strange to me to hear them, they were basically making that connection, right off the bat.
It was odd that we had about 5 to 7 people come out against it. About half of them, about 3 of them were, 2 or 3 of them were Universal employees. The other was, I'm recalling 2 people specifically. One was an older gentleman from Orange Tree.
Yes.
Orange Tree is the development node close to Universal. Now, Universal did hold a community meeting at Orange Tree. At that community meeting, they did present a number of false facts, saying things like you could see it from inside Diagon Alley, which if any of you have ever been to Diagon Alley, is designed specifically so unless this thing was like, 10,000 feet tall and hanging over Diagon Alley, there's no way you're going to see it.
Yeah, they actually did. They actually did during the presentation. They did a what was it? A view study.
Yes.
Or a viewpoint study, and they showed a picture and they said, "Here's a picture of Diagon Alley. You can't see it." And that was one of the biggest complaints I think from Universal was the fact that they I think they said that you could see it from 30 miles away or something like that, which was totally baseless. I mean, you can't see
on the flyer. They claimed you could see this thing from as far away as Bithlow, which there's no way. Like it's physically impossible to. I mean, at that point, you'd be like looking in your backyard and see it. Like,
and I have to say, one of the things I heard today, on the one of the things that it just shows like people just not people. I'm gonna say this is gonna sound bad, but people really jump on bandwagons. And they don't really research or do anything, and they just jump into something. And that was pretty evident today because I was watching the local news, and they were interviewing someone that was a high up at Point Orlando, which is a shopping plaza on the south end of iDrive near the convention center there. And she said, she was against Skyplex, and they asked her why. And she said, well, when people look up into the sky at night, they want to see stars. They don't want to see lights from this giant tower. And I said, well, and I thought about this for a second. Well, your tower, your plaza is like, not that far from iDrive 360, which has this giant Ferris wheel that's lit up every night. It may be purple every night, but it's lit up every night purple. And it's purple in some other color. And how do you not see that? I mean, how is that not a problem? But Skyplex is.
Well, if you're at Point Orlando, you would be seeing a upside down building that has floodlights shining up on it. That's what you'd be.
Wonderworks. You would see Wonderworks.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just
I put Point Orlando in the same exact category. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you here.
Okay, go ahead.
I put Point Orlando in the same category. I put Universal. They're opposed to it because it's competition.
I agree, and it's funny because the larger companies, the larger businesses on iDrive, Point Orlando, Universal, and some of these larger companies came out against the project, but all these smaller businesses were for the project. And there's when I think of iDrive, I think of two people. I think of Dowdy, and I think of Rosen. I think of those two people. What is it? Harris Rosen, and I can't think of Dowdy's first name, but I think of those two people. They basically, if you take a ride down I-4 and you look to your right and you see up and down, you'll see Rosen hotels all up and down iDrive, and you see there's a Dowdy pavilion on iDrive there, and he owns some of that land over there too, and so on and so forth. And he used to own a lot more, but not as much as he does now. So those are the two big players for me on iDrive.
Well, he used to own a lot more. Dowdy used to own a lot more, but he sold a lot of it to Joshua Wallach.
Mm-hmm.
And both the father who is currently operating it, very nice gentleman. If you go to iDrive about 8, 9 in the morning, he'll be walking his dog. He walks his dog and checks his property every single morning. He's there every day on iDrive.
Interesting.
Both him and his son spoke at the meeting today.
Interesting story about him too. One of the things he was interviewed a while ago for a documentary about iDrive, and one of the things he said that he would do when he was getting things started was he would go to these hotels across the street. What's now it was a Hilton back then, but it's now Coco Key, and he would see guests walking up and down iDrive, and he would pick a person and say, hey, let me buy you some Dunkin' Donuts, and you tell me what you want on iDrive. And people would tell him, and this is how he got the inspiration for things like these $1.99 gift shops and things like that, because people wanted, cheap cheap gifts to take home, souvenirs. And that's basically what started that souvenir trend there with the cheap gifts. So it's a side story, but it's interesting. These guys pretty much, him and Rosen pretty much, started up International Drive, in my opinion. And both these people were in support of Skyplex.
Rosen was very interesting. It was very interesting how they expressed their support. This was towards the beginning of the meeting. Harris Rosen himself was not there. They had a representative there. They apologized that Harris Rosen himself was not there. I love Harris Rosen. I know he tries to go to many of these things. He is getting up there in age. And, I mean, it's part of getting older. I completely understand that. They said an emergency came up. They didn't give more details than that.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys, I know you saw this on the thing, but for those who didn't see this, Harris Rosen, what Rosen Hotels, the company, did, they said, we will have our support as Tangelo Park. What Tangelo Park decides, we'll support. And Tangelo Park is the community that Harris Rosen has been investing in for over 20 years, paid for every single child in that neighborhood to have daycare, every single child in that neighborhood to have college.
Yep.
Amazing program. Now copying that program in Paramore, trying it in the exact same program in Paramore. Then they had the next person after them was the person representing Tangelo Park. They had over 200 signatures. It's a very small community, so 200 signatures, I have to assume, is the majority of the people in that neighborhood. And they were in support of it. Now, later on in the meeting, I believe it was Siplin who said, Commissioner Siplin, who said that earlier this year, she had went to a HOA meeting in Tangelo Park.
I remember this.
At that meeting, Skyplex came up and they expressed their support for it then. So if she knew that Tangelo Park supported this a few months ago, so did Rosen.
Mm-hmm.
So Rosen has known that that this community supported it, but he still trusted them enough to say, hey, I know you support this, but you could throw me a left ball, or you could throw me a curveball here in the last minute, but I'm putting my trust in you to do the right thing. So I thought that was very telling. And that was, he used this opportunity to shine the light onto a community in need. Mm-hmm. And he also used this opportunity to show his support of that community. I thought that was an interesting move.
Let it be known too that his projects that he's done for that community he's been mentioned all over the world. I mean,
this is a model that communities around the world.
I think there was an Oprah episode where they talked about him and had him on to talk about his programs and stuff that he does with Tangelo Park, which is just fantastic. And I found it really awesome what the guy in Tangelo Park said. He said, listen, this is going to create thousands of jobs, or a thousand jobs, and it's within walking distance. He said we can walk to this and our people have jobs. He said this is the greatest thing to ever happen to us, and it really is. I mean, and I think the commissioner, some of them or at least who was the one lady at the end there, I think she was kind of holding out, or she seemed very excited that Tangelo Park was in excited about it. So it was really interesting to see the people that were against the Skyplex and the people that were for it, because everyone.
But who was against it? Like, I mean, I was there, and off the top of my head, I'm recalling 2 people who weren't Universal employees who were against it. And if you can remind me of any others.
They were both communities that weren't really near the project.
Well, the one guy was a community north of Universal Boulevard, Orange Tree. He was against it because he thought it was going to add more traffic. Older gentleman, I don't think he understood the traffic design of it. Against it because it would add more traffic. Then we had a younger gentleman, not from that area at all. He was against it. In his 2 minutes, he talked about pedestrian safety in Central Florida.
I remember that.
Again, I think he was a little confused at what the project was, because he talked about how we need to fix pedestrian safety. I think I spoke to him some before the meeting.
I think he was more focused on the garage part.
Yeah, I'm a little confused though, because Joshua Wallach has said if this gets approved, I will help finance. And please note, he never said I will pay for completely. He only said I will help finance, but I will help finance the pedestrian bridge to go across Sand Lake Road and I Drive, because that is a very dangerous intersection for pedestrians.
And you're right about that. He did mention about the pedestrian. The one guy didn't mention the pedestrian bridge, and I upon hearing him, I thought, like, well, don't you know about the pedestrian bridge?
Yeah, it was very odd that he was all for the, I talked to him beforehand, and he wasn't even that against Skyplex. He was just concerned about pedestrian safety in the area. And Skyplex will have 10-foot wide sidewalks around it. It will have those separated from the road, so there will be a landscape buffer between the road and it. This is modeled after the ones in Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, it's very difficult to actually get onto the street, and that's going to be exactly how it is here. And for pedestrian safety, I think that this is the busiest intersection south of Manhattan. Is the Sand Lake Road I Drive intersection,
and it's like the number. It's like the number two. It's like the number 2 or something in the country for accidents.
Yeah. I think that with this new pedestrian bridge and with the updates and signaling that's going to allow for it, I think this is going to become a model for pedestrian safety. So I'm a little confused at why you would want to vote against this project for pedestrian concerns when built into the project you have a model of what to do in pedestrian situations.
I don't think he knew about the pedestrian bridge.
And I don't know. I spoke to him beforehand because, I arrived there. I sat through most of the Aldi meeting to get a fill of the commissioners. And then I went to lunch and I came back, and I got back about 12:30 because I knew I had to get back early. And I chatted with him for a while before we went in, because it was about 2 hours before we could get in. And he knew about the pedestrian bridge, but he just didn't. I don't know. It was like that one confused me. But those are the only 2 people that weren't Universal employees that I can recall off the top of my head that were against the project.
No, I think,
and it was just Universal's tone was very. They were just, when the Universal guy there was basically only one person there was a few people that spoke against it, but there was a guy from Universal who spoke against the project, and he said all these things, and I love the first thing he said was it's not about competition, which everyone kind of laughed at, and it was like, this is you're crazy, but then he started ranting out all these things, and he had just been proven he had like no basis to say anything, because he, at the beginning of the presentation of the meeting, they had gone through and had all these people come and do independent surveys of light pollution and all these things, and he had no room to talk, and he almost tried to like pull out these old chestnuts that they were trying to promote in this flyer with this when he was talking, and like it was like, what was he gonna say? And then it was funny because the Unicorp guy like went right after him, and the first thing he said was, listen, if it's hey Universal, listen, if it's not about the competition, then why did you send out the flyers? And that was the greatest thing I heard during the whole thing. I'm like, it's the truth though. No. Like, if you really don't care about the competition, then why did you send out the flyers with these facts? And what was it? The guy, what is his name? Mark Nejame, the lawyer from TV. Yes. He came on there, and he said, I'm appalled by this flyer that makes us out like we're.
He is someone who was not for. He sat right behind me in the meeting, and everyone in town knows Mark Nejame. If you've driven through Orlando, you've seen the billboards. You know this guy.
Him and Morgan.
Yeah, I mean, many people who were there from what I talked to, including him, they had no opinion on this until Universal came out so hard on it. And it backfired on Universal. I mean, people like him who had no opinion, who really could care less, suddenly said, "Whoa, why is this giant corporation so interested in what's happening in my community?" And that pushed them to support the project. And I think this is a lesson. This is going to be one of those lessons that we're going to look at for years to come. I think that this is definitely a lesson where you can push something too far. Comcast treated this like it was a major political event. Creating a political action committee, trying to make it look like that the PAC was much larger than it was, trying to make it look like it had much more support than it did, and sending out multiple flyers with many inaccuracies on them.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And that
I've never been more upset about anything in my life than those flyers that were sent out by Universal. Inaccuracies on that flyer. I mean, you had to be like completely on another planet. Like to not know that this was not the way that it was going to happen.
And one of the things I liked is they were going through. It was just more towards the beginning of the thing, and they had some of they're the independent study guys, and they were talking about the light pollution, and I forgot where, but it was like far back.
It was from the lake there, I think, in
Keynes Landing,
and they were showing that
light pollution, and you saw. I think they showed hotels, the Eye, Skyplex, and Universal, and the one who had the most light pollution
by a long shot was Universal.
I thought that was,
and that's when the audience, the everyone in the crowd right then
erupted
out. Yeah, and
they made them stop.
Yeah, and you had to do like jazz hands to show support after that.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was. And what was funny is what the jazz hands did is there was so many people with the jazz hands that a lot. Every time someone got up to speak, you just saw jazz hands across the audience after that.
It was just funny because did
the video feed you have? I know you saw this on. Did you watch this on Orange TV or
I watched it on YouTube. I don't get TV here in town.
Did that video feed show the audience at all? Or were those
it did a little bit. It did a little bit. There was a few shots here and there, but no. But the feed was just it was a really bad feed. So we won't get into that feed. It was not a good experience. But the thing that the jazz hands things was great. It was just so. I mean, in that one like statement with the light pollution, and they just put Universal to bed. I mean, that was it. And the other thing is too, they made another comment. They said, we went out to Dr. Phillips High to see about the noise pollution, to see if Universal was breaking the ordinance for noise pollution. And they were. And they said, well, they get special privileges, but hey, they're breaking the rules here too.
Well, you know why they get those special privileges, right?
No, why?
Because when they built Islands of Adventure, they said it wouldn't be loud. It ended up being so loud, it was echoing through the halls of Dr. Phillips. And teachers said, we can't talk. When we're talking, the students can't hear us. And so then Universal said, well, there's only so much we can do. We can't tear down a roller coaster. This is a brand new theme park. And the city finally came to an agreement where if they build a giant wall, and this giant wall is supposed to look natural, and that's why it looks like these giant blades of grass. And that wall on the backside, it's a double wall with a padding in the middle that's supposed to knock the noise down.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they have the special exemption now. But that wall does nothing. And I also find it very amusing that as Universal's complaining about noise, Hulk is one of the noisiest roller coasters, one of the noisiest attractions I've ever seen.
Closed now.
And I don't know if the new one will be, but I do find it very amusing that, right before they start complaining about noise, they shut down one of the noisiest attractions I've ever seen. I don't think that is a happenstance. I think it was
just they were just doomed from the start. And the Universal guy, I forget, he was a higher up or something. When he came up to speak against the project, he just looked so angry. he looked so mad that they had just defeated him. I mean, he was defeated.
Well, they had a representative earlier in a earlier meeting where they had a representative. It wasn't a employee of Universal. It was part of the legal team. He got in trouble for screaming at people. The problem was these Universal staff. I don't know who in the totem pole at Universal decided to come out against this, but I got the impression that many of these people, they were there against this because their job was on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And you just saw 50 people speaking in favor of this thing. You just saw that, when Bob from Pixel the Parks got up and said, I sent you 4,000 emails, I from my website, and the guy's like, actually, it was 5,000. Another one of my favorite highlights of the entire thing.
That was good. I remember that.
But imagine, though, after all that, your job is on the line to get up and convince this group then that this is bad for them. I would be angry too,
Yeah.
So I don't think they were angry at the audience. I think they were angry because they didn't know what to do.
Exactly.
I mean, how do you convince that audience today was very set? I think that the problem was there was a lot of chiefs at Comcast who were against this, and they hired a legal team. They hired some people to do a pack, and they just kind of threw a bunch of stuff at the wall. But the problem is they overdid it.
That's the thing. I think they were just so focused on getting their way that they just would say or do whatever it took to get it, and they would hope that people wouldn't question them. And Wallach is just an amazing person. He really knows his stuff, that he is going to rebuttal everything that they said, which he did, and it turned out to be a really great debate, and Universal had literally no say, and it was awesome because they had all their ducks in a row. I mean, it couldn't have gone any better than it did, today. So it was absolutely fantastic. It was.
I've been following this project very closely. I mean, you know how close I've been following this project.
Well, I can honestly say that as far as me, I never thought it was going to come to see the light of day. There was a point where I was a little skeptical too.
I was DMing with some people last night, some people in local media, higher up people in some local media, and they were talking about some of those staff, and they had been discussing with some of those staff, and there was a lot of debate of whether this was going to actually happen. And even before the meeting, there was talk of, well, what would the appeal process look like? And that appeal process would have been a 2 to 3 year process. And so, I mean, it was this today. And random side note, Joshua Wallach's father, we all know Joshua Wallach's father. He is the founder of Mingus. Today is his birthday. So I can't imagine a better
birthday gift.
But yeah, I follow this project very closely. I was in shock by how lopsided this was. I thought we were going to come down to a 4-3 vote. I thought that we were going to have I thought we were going to have buses of older people from these, those neighborhoods right there that are opposed to it. What those neighborhoods are, those are old neighborhoods, mostly filled with retirees. And I thought those retirees, I thought we were going to see busloads of them coming in against this. I saw a few people who didn't speak who had anti-density shirts on. I saw a few people who didn't speak who were against it. Actually, I had a lady sitting a few seats down from me who was against it. And I spoke to her some in between the break right before it began. A lot of them, though, said, I'm against it. I spoke to her. I spoke to the guy outside. I'm against it, but I'm not against it enough to stop it. But I was utterly amazed. It just was person after it was 55 people, and 50 of them were for it. It just was person after person after person saying, "Build it, build it, build it," and not just like random people. I'm talking like major business owners.
And and one of the presenters, I think it was the Nijame guy. He said he said, look, you sent out so many flyers, and look how many people showed up. if people really cared about this, you'd have more people show up against it. You sent out thousands of flyers, and 6-7 people showed up here against it. So it's like, that was a really good point. So
no,
so let's move on here, and so let's talk about this for a minute. Now, we all kind of knew,
we kind of guessed.
Well, we all kind of, I wouldn't say guessed. We all kind of knew. Universal has said they're closing Wet and Wild. We've all kind of guessed and knew, I guess, in the back of our minds, that Universal is planning to do things on iDrive, Universal Boulevard, what have you. There's been things floating around for a while about this, and it's just craziness. So after the we all figured that's why they were so against Skyplex, because their projects, depended on it, and they wanted to. It was competition for their projects.
Yeah.
So
just to reiterate the point, I always thought when I first heard Universal against it, I always thought like the reasons they were giving, there's like, no, there's something else. There's something else on down the line they haven't said. There's just something else on down the line they haven't said, and
so it was announced pretty much after. I guess it was announced after the after this meeting that there is a Sand Lake Road complex near Universal Boulevard.
It was actually announced by Joshua Wallach, which I found amusing.
So you were there. Walk us through this announcement here, because and tell us what we're looking at here, because I'm still kind of blown away by this.
I have to say that we have been tracking, and you're part of the Orlando Tourism Report group.
Mm-hmm.
We've been tracking some rumors. I was hedging my bets on the people behind American Dream, the Mega Mall company.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who I was hedging my bets on this being. It does look like it is now Universal. I'm a little surprised by that, because I have been told that Universal had plenty to focus on with its own property.
So what are we looking at here with Universal? What are they?
It's about 450 acres. It's near the convention center. This is away. It's about a mile away, maybe a little less than a mile from the site now. About 3/4 of a mile, a half a mile to 3/4 of a mile from Wet and Wild.
Now, quick question: how close is the eye?
This is on Universal Boulevard.
No, it's right behind the convention center.
Oh, right behind the convention center. Okay.
So
that road is really scrunched up there. So I would be very close.
I'm surprised. Of course, all the fan people are immediately jumping on the bandwagon, thinking this is a full theme park. We can look at what Universal has done with other pieces of property. I wouldn't be surprised to see them develop this as a mixed-use development with residential and commercial, things like that. Maybe those mega mall rumors that I've been hearing since IAPA last year, maybe that's part of maybe Universal's invested in that. Retail, we have some of the most profitable per square foot malls in the world in Orlando, multiple ones in Orlando. I'm not sold on it being another theme park. But yeah, they have, and the deal has not gone through yet. Mm-hmm. They still have, I don't know how many days, but you have 30 days to approve it or disapprove it if you're the owner. But it looks like, Universal is buying 450 acres on Universal Boulevard for some type of major development.
Now,
and for those of you that don't know that are listening, Universal Boulevard runs behind, or parallel, I guess, to iDrive. It's like it's this other plot of.
It was actually designed as a road to take the traffic off of Universal, off of International Drive. Like this road is a new old road, linked to Universal's property. Essentially built when Universal went from a single theme park to a multi-day resort with hotels, retail complex and the other theme park, Islands of Adventure. It has never been. Last I saw was not even at 50% capacity. It's barely used. It's very landscaped very nicely. But yeah, it runs parallel to iDrive from Universal's property down to the beach line, down to the 528. And then it changes names and goes down to Central Florida Parkway there in Williamsburg. A lot of the developments on it, we have a lot of new apartments in that area. We have the some of the Rosen hotels. Rosen Shingle Creek is right there. We also, which Rosen Shingle Creek just announced that they're adding 1,000 new rooms there and expanding the convention center. We also have the Rosen College there. I think it'd be very difficult. Also, right behind this property is we have Shingle Creek itself. Now, Shingle Creek is the one of two. We have two rivers here in Central Florida. One is the Econotachee, the Little Econ, and one is Shingle Creek. Those are the headwaters to the Florida Everglades. They are very protected waterways. Some of the most protected waterways in all of Florida. With a highly protected waterways, just north of this, you have Lockheed Martin, where they do build highly classified stuff for the military. So you have a missile complex, a highly protected waterway, and residential developments. They could build a theme park there, but if you think that Skyplex was a hard sell, that's going to be a hard sell.
Now, on to the theme park thing. If they do it, one thing I think they will put in there in some part, potentially it could be all, but I would just think it'd just be too big if they were to do a whole theme park on this. But I think if they were to put a theme park on Universal Boulevard, I think Nintendo Land would go there.
I'm still hearing, from what I'm hearing, is Nintendo Land. Well, first off, we have to get beyond the thinking of Nintendo Land as a single IP. Nintendo is not a single IP. Nintendo is multiple IPs. From my understanding, we will have and correct me if I'm wrong here, Bob, but I know you've seen what I've seen. We will have multiple Nintendo IPs replacing Kid Zone.
I've heard that. I've heard a Mario Kart, some sort of attraction with that, and some other.
Mario Kart. I'm hearing that will probably be some type of VR system. Also, something with Zelda and some other IPs there. I'm also hearing that we will see something Nintendo-based in the next decade in Islands of Adventure. And that might be a IP that Nintendo has not introduced yet.
That's true. I guess sorry. I figured they'd probably put all of the Nintendo stuff into like one park, one land, but I could definitely see them going multiple areas.
Yeah. What's funny is because the other big rumor right now is they're going to take the what's the production company, the Despicable Me, Seuss, It's not. I always want to call it Illuminati, and it's not Illuminati.
Well, Illuminations, Animations. It's something. It is close to Illuminati, kind of.
It's like Illuminations, Illuminati, something like that.
Yeah.
The big rumor is that's going to be replacing Toon Lagoon.
Which should.
But that's confusing because most of the IPs are Seuss based, and I don't see Seuss Landing going anywhere.
That's true, but they but
we know that Pets is going to Toon Lagoon.
Yes, I was gonna mention that movie, that one coming up.
Well, we don't know, but that's the very strong rumor on the street. Like,
but they need to get rid of Toon Lagoon because nobody really reads the paper anymore.
Well, no one knows who Popeye or any of these people are anymore.
Yeah. Dooley Doo. When's the last time you saw something Dooley Doo like?
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but it's just this whole thing is very interesting. I mean, Universal was, I mean, they were trying to be, I don't want to say shady, but it seems like, it comes down to they were trying to be shady about this in some way, shape, or form to get this project blocked for their own, necessity. And it just the whole thing rubbed me the wrong way. There was just all kinds of allegations flying everywhere, people being paid off. All this stuff was, everything was, you heard something different every day. But my question, I guess to you now, Ken, is going further in the future, is there any other way that Universal can do anything to block this from happening? I don't see anything unless you know something that I don't.
Well, Joshua Wallach, after the meeting today, I mean, he said himself, and he said this, and Richard at OBJ quoted it. It's smooth selling from here.
Journal, by the way.
I'm sorry?
Orlando Business Journal.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Orlando Business Journal. But Joshua Wallach, the developer of Skyplex, said it's smooth selling from here. This was the big thing that could have killed the project. And there are a number of smaller hurdles he has to jump through still. Those you could get a opposition if there's enough people against the project, you could slow those hoops, slow those things down quite a bit to stretch the project out. And that doesn't look like, I mean, if they couldn't get the community support for this, I don't see them getting the community support for that. Outside of something very unprecedented, I don't see a way to block the project at this point.
Maybe, slow it down, of course, but, they can't really just stop it immediately.
And even slowing it down, like...
I think the only thing that... I think the only thing that'll stop it now, which there's no way that this could happen, but one of the things there's the two things. Number one, they said, they have to keep it within the confines. They said, keep it under 600 feet, because they even asked them twice. They said, how tall is the thing going to be? And they said 500 something, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be something.
That was the actual quote.
That was the actual quote. Yeah. so they, I mean, unless they start going around and saying, making the thing 650 feet or something and doing all this craziness and going outside of what they said they were going to do.
Which they had the initial approval was for 700 feet. The FAA approval was for 700 feet. They went today, and the 600 foot was a bit of a curveball for the commissioners today. And what that was is that was a signal to, we're not building a 700 foot tall tower. We have no intention to build a 700 foot tall tower. And guess what? We want to prove our intentions to not build a 700 foot tall tower by ensuring that the approval itself won't allow us to build it. They knocked that 100 feet off there. I top of that as a attempt at goodwill.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was at the beginning of the meeting is when they announced that they're going for 600 feet, not 700. So I mean, immediately, the old quote, when the FAA gives you something, take all you can get. Especially here in Orlando, it's very difficult in Central Florida due to flight patterns and due to some people who are in charge who are very against high buildings here. It's very difficult to get tall buildings. The area that this is on the I-Drive, this area is zoned for a 50-foot height. It's very difficult to build tall buildings in Central Florida. And to say, hey, we have an approval for 700 feet, but we're going to give you back 100 of those feet. That's impressive. That's
a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
And that means that is actually a lot. You think 100 feet isn't a lot, but that's actually a lot for this building. Yeah. For them, they have to cut back a little bit here. So it's a big deal to them to give back the.
Well, they don't have to cut back because they never planned to go to 700 feet.
Oh, I thought they planned to do
No, the plans call for the actual tower itself to be about 560 to 580 feet, mattering what type of roof system it has. There were some plans early on to have a telecommunications tower on the top that would go to 700 feet. They did confirm today that that was the spire that Jacobs mentioned a few times, and she was asking about the spire. That spire was a telecommunications spire. It was going to have a T-Mobile. It's T-Mobile and another company. I believe it was Sprint. That was Main Street Telecommunications, I believe. Main Street something. A cell phone tower. Also going to have I don't know if this has been announced. Also going to have a Doppler tower. And it's going to have a partnership with a local news company who's going to have, the Doppler radar on top of the skyscraper, skyplex,
cool.
with a camera on the top. You know how they have the cameras on tops of the tall buildings in downtown? Well, they're going to have one here as well. That was initially what that spire was. They cut the spire out, and they built that now into the actual tower itself. So all of the telecommunications and stuff will be there, but it won't be as a spire on the top. So yeah, that by cutting out that spire, they could cut out that extra height. That's my understanding of it. I mean, I haven't seen the actual documents, but gathering everything, that's what I kind of figured it was.
So, and before I'm going to wrap things up here a little bit, but before we go, I just have one question for you, Ken. I kind of see this as a sort of a shifting here of iDrive, because one of the things we've always talked about is the 50 feet. You can't have a building higher than 50 feet. And now we have this giant tower coming to town. Do you think for things in the future that maybe we'll get higher attractions? I mean, I'm all for this. If we get these higher buildings or higher attractions on iDrive, I'm all for it. I think it'll be great. Is that something that you think we'll see in the future more of?
Well, it's kind of while we talk about a 50-foot height limit, that's only in the county part of iDrive. And within that county part of iDrive, we do have the convention district. The convention district, that's the area directly around the convention center. That's where the Rosen hotels are. That's where the Hyatt Regency is. That area is the convention district, and that area has no height limit. That's how we get those tall buildings like the Rosen hotels there, and the old Peabody, the Hyatt Regency. So we're only talking about a small part of iDrive that is within this 50 feet, because in the city up there, Magical Midway North, that's all the city of Orlando. There's no height limits there either. What Chuck Whittle, you remember him? He was the interestingly dressed guy today. I love his shorts. He always has the most interesting shorts. He is the owner of Unicorp. They did the iDrive 360 development. What they are proposing is to extend the convention center district up to the north side of Skyscraper Skyplex. Now, if Skyscraper Skyplex was within that convention center district, this height issue would have never been an issue. So what I actually see happening is taking that convention center zoning, and within that there's a special tax initiative similar to the one we have downtown for the limo. There's also rules on signage, stricter rules on signage. I mean, you've been around the convention center, though. You see how that area is different. I see the county eventually just adopting that zoning for all of the county's area of iDrive. So just eliminating the height limits altogether, but say, hey, if you want to build something new here, it better be pretty, it better be high-end, and it better have good landscaping, good signage, etc. But you can build whatever you want.
Which is something that was brought up at the meeting a lot too. A lot of people. I've never noticed how many people are actually distraught with the current appearance of the north end of iDrive, and there was a lot of people that were a little upset about it. So, and that was one of the key points for this, they were saying, hey, look, we're going to pretty up this side of, I-Drive that needs it, that thoroughly needs this beautification because it's just such a rundown area.
Yeah, like Rob said, they said that. He even said it to the point where they started to blame the county. They're like, well, we care about that side of I-Drive. They had to say that, like, don't get us wrong. We do care about that side of I-Drive.
Mm-hmm. Now, one other thing, Ken, maybe you can clue me in too, and about this. One of the big things that I know they've been battling with Universal too is and we're going to get a little technical here, but the stormwater runoff has been an issue with Skyplex, and they came up with a solution, I guess, to put it into the lake or have it run off into the lake behind Wet and Wild, which Universal owns, I think, about half of now or something like that. I don't know. They may own all of it. I don't know. But now they're having issues with that. Universal is going to sue for that and all this stuff. What did they? I can't remember what they said about that. They were going to do something with that.
Well, I heard that they're not gonna. They said, you know what, just to appease Universal a little, and this is I think I heard, and Ken will probably, but to appease Universal, they said we're not going to go in that lake and go somewhere else.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to start with first the new drainage plan. Then I'll go and touch on Sandy Lake because Sandy Lake is very detailed. If you look at the satellite map, there is a drainage area. It's a square drainage pond, just beside Pirates, the Pirates Dinner Theater.
Mm-hmm.
That one is what they're draining into now.
Okay.
There's a strip plaza there on Universal Boulevard, and I think was that Courier Drive there? Courier Drive there?
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
That strip plaza drains into that lake as well. Okay. I personally have been, and don't share this, I have personally been trying to convince Josh Wallach to buy that strip plaza. He doesn't seem like he's looking into it. He doesn't seem like he's interested in it.
Podcast.
I know. But he's not interested, so it doesn't matter. But I do find it interesting that this strip plaza that's up for sale near.
There's not that much in that strip plaza too, by the way.
There's a construction school there. There's a Jewish center there.
There was a really interesting nightclub or something in a 2-story building there. It was
out front, yeah.
There was a show there at one point too that was really interesting. No, Sluice wasn't there.
Oh.
There was a dinner show there too, though. Sluice was in that shopping plaza before they moved to I-Drive. This is a long time ago, but they were in there. There's something else in that plaza, like a dinner show or something that was interesting too. But there's
a
unique building there.
It's like a Chinese taxi van company.
Yeah, it's a weird, unique building, but that plaza is just weird. I don't even know. I don't even remember a time when that plaza that strip mall had its heyday and it was full of tenants. I don't ever remember a time when that was full of tenants.
Yeah, it's a very old plaza.
Mm-hmm.
Its time has.
There's nowhere. Who's gonna go there? There's nothing really, and I don't think they ever had an anchor store or anything like a grocery store or anything like that in there.
Well, the biggest anchor they have was the nightclub out front, and it's gone through different owners. And I actually drove by it the other night, and there was a guy standing at the door who looked like a bouncer. That looked like there were no lights on though, but I'm assuming it was open because there was a door guy. But that place is open sporadically at best.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much they're asking for the plaza. Obviously, they're asking too much because if Joshua Wallach, who's spending $500 million, 75 feet away, is not interested.
Now that he knows he's got deep pockets, he probably wants a lot for it.
Well, also, though, there is the Pirates section, the Pirates Dinner Theater, in between the two pieces of property. I would like to see him purchase the Pirates Dinner Theater as well and integrate the dinner show attraction into the Skyplex.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily see that because he does have a dinner show going on at Mango's.
At Mango's, that's true.
He does have a dinner show. So and honestly, as far as the Pirates dinner show is concerned, if there was anything that I was going to keep at Pirates, the only thing I would keep is Treasure Tap.
Mm-hmm.
Treasure Tap. Pirates is just the last time I went to Pirates, it was just not a good experience.
It needs to be. I mean, I like the concept. It needs to be updated. It's time for a model.
The last time I went to the show, I mean, the last time I went to Pirates, it was empty.
Yeah.
I mean, there was maybe one row of people there in this huge theater, and it was like 90% empty.
Yeah.
And
so I have to assume that I haven't been to
but Treasure Tavern fills up.
But that's also a smaller venue.
True, but I think the thing that wins for Treasure Tavern is it's a unique show. Yeah. It's more of an adult show, which we don't really have on iDrive.
That's what Mangus is going to be as well, though.
Yeah, Mangus will be that too, which I'm sure will hurt them a little bit. But I mean, Treasure Tavern is actually a decent show, and
I have to assume though that Pirates wouldn't be that expensive to buy out at this point.
No, I wouldn't doubt it either. I mean,
I have to assume that with the amount of international investment and other investment that has not been announced, but the amount of investors for Skyplex at this point, it'd be an easy buy. But I'm way off point here. So.
That property, I mean, it's just so outdated and old and
yeah, and he has the property across the street, so I think it's a small phase 2 property for Skyplex. But that's the pond they're draining into now. The old pond was down the road a bit, actually. It's the one at Wet and Wild. That's Sandy Lake. Now that's been a pond there since Universal, since Wet and Wild opened.
Mm-hmm.
It's a man-made drainage pond. Most of iDrive drains into it. At the meeting, they did talk about this some. Universal has now sent a cease and desist to the county and to these businesses, saying you can no longer drain into our property. They don't own all of the lake. They only own about 2/3 of the lake. The second largest owner on the lake is
Westgate, right?
Westgate. Yeah, they have the Westgate Towers there.
Now, did Westgate say anything?
They were not there today, which there was a couple of people who didn't speak today. I was surprised that didn't speak. Westgate was one. FunSpot was the other. Neither of those had any opinion on this today.
Have you heard anything from FunSpot? I mean,
I have not.
I would think that they would be into the project.
I heard that what I heard was when there was a part where Universal said that certain businesses were against Skyplex, and one of them was FunSpot, and they came out and said, "No, we're for it."
I don't recall that.
Was this on Twitter or?
I think you might have said something to me about that.
I don't know. I would think that they would be though, because I mean, honestly though, I mean, really, it's right down the street, and honestly, like, I mean, if you're gonna have these coaster guys coming for the polar coaster, they're gonna go down and ride these 2 coasters too. And it's
VR coaster at FunSpot,
especially if they get VR coaster.
Yeah,
VR coaster is gonna get them there no matter what. If you're listening, FunSpot, if you want to compete with Skyplex, Sky Coaster, they've got their hands full with polar coaster. You guys have tested VR coaster. We know it works great. You can do it on Freedom Flyer. It takes a coaster that is a family coaster and turns it into a real monster of a coaster. And you guys will kick butt with that. So please do the...
yeah, if FunSpot gets the VR coaster, we're going to have a wooden coaster, a very popular wooden coaster, a VR coaster, and the world's tallest roller coaster, all within 1.5 miles of each other. So I mean that would make iDrive an international destination. I talked to a lady today who's been on over 250 roller coasters. There's about 2,200 around the world, so she's been on about 10% of the roller coasters in the world. She's gone all through Europe riding roller coasters. She actually spoke at the meeting today. I believe she spoke right after me, actually. She spoke sometime around the time I spoke. But she's part of many roller coaster enthusiast clubs. Talking to her, it sounds like she's actually done some of the theme park review tours. That's what it sounded like to me. She didn't say theme park review, but when she talked about the tours she's done, it sounded like those were the tours she was referring to. But she was saying, I already have friends in other countries who are asking me for updates on Skyplex. I have to assume if they're going to come here for Skyplex, they're going to go on the original Space Mountain. They're going to go on the VR coaster at Fun Spot. They're going to go on the wooden coaster. They're going to do all these other coasters we have in town. They're going to do the new Mako at SeaWorld.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I mean, she actually mentioned that while I was standing in line.
Mm-hmm. No, they'll definitely. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. She said her friends were from like Russia or something. You know.
Yeah, there was that lady as well.
Yeah. But one
sorry.
thing I did like is one thing you have to look about in the world of theme parks is Dubai, and I like that people were mentioning that with this we'll be out there with Dubai, and I did like that.
We're already up there with Dubai. That kind of peeved me off a little because there's two things that get me really fired up about Dubai. Number one, it's really easy to build impressive stuff when you have slaves building it. You know, the stuff in Dubai is built by slaves. So I'm not going to get into, human trafficking and what's happening in Dubai, but we do have that. There's some excellent Vice videos I'd recommend on that one. One specifically called Slaves of Dubai. Highly recommend that video if you want to look at that. Also in Dubai, a lot of these things that are built for a lot of these things built in Dubai are built for a quick media attention. They aren't built to last long term.
Okay.
Many people who
definitely the Ferrari park on that one.
Yeah. I think that Skyscraper at Skyplex. I mean, Joshua Wallach has told me firsthand, I want this to be my life's business. And he is building this so that this is his thing he does for the rest of his life. So in 30 years and 40 years and 50 years, Skyscraper at Skyplex will still be there and will still be an icon for Central Florida.
And so, I think that's one of the biggest worries that people have about this, because that area of iDrive, or well, not that area of iDrive, but iDrive just in general has always been such a cutthroat area of town. I mean, look at it this way. We just had what was it? I can't even think of it. What was it? McFadden's at iDrive 360. It has been there for 6 months on iDrive, and it's already closed.
Yeah, one guy even said, and this help his point with boosting the north side of iDrive, was saying that we just had 4 restaurants closed.
Yeah. Which that was again, while that is true, 2 of those were the same owner, and so I think that you need to look at how many owners have had stuff closed versus how many businesses have closed. Because if you have one guy that has 50 places and he shuts down, well, you have 50 businesses. You know what I mean? So, but hey, it was enough to convince people to vote for it. So I agree. Going back to Sandy Lake though, real fast, I want to touch on something there. It was interesting. I had not heard the statistic. While Skyscraper at Skyplex has shifted to another drainage area, these other businesses on Drive, they can't. They've designed this for the last 40 years, draining into this area. At the end of the day, if Universal really wanted, they could say, stop draining into it. I think you could go in there and dredge out the lake it is and make it deeper. That would take some time. And in the meantime, it is possible, like what the Skyscraper Skyplex group said today, Universal could shut down up to 500 businesses on iDrive over drainage. And so if they really wanted to be dicks, they could go in there and, I'm sorry, I don't know if I could say that on the show. It's too late now. If they really wanted to be mean, they could go in there and essentially shut down North iDrive. So that's a concern. I'm curious to see.
That is a concern for me too, because they could hold them ransom too and say, "Hey, look, pay us rent for the usage of our drainage."
Yeah.
And let me ask you, Ken, you would know this better than I would. Would the city have any say in that? I mean, they don't own the land, so they can't have any say, really.
Well, technically, it wouldn't be the city; it'd be the water management district.
Mm-hmm.
And from my understanding, you can't just change the water management plans. So at the end of the day, I don't think Universal would have the final say. From my understanding, it would be the water management district. But Universal could say, we want to change our drainage plan. And by changing the drainage plan, they can move the lake. But again, I think that you could take the other parts of the lake there, make it a deep retention with the concrete walls.
Mm-hmm.
And make it, we see that in some of the urban areas here closer to downtown, where you have these extra deep retention ponds with the concrete walls, you just cinder block walls. I think you could do that there, but this would be millions of dollars. And so it would be a community effort to save iDrive if that did happen. I'm curious, though, to see how much Universal pushes that Sandy Lake drainage issue now that Skyscraper Skyplex has been approved and has shifted their drainage. So that will be telling if they were doing this for Skyscraper Skyplex or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see Universal trying to be, it seems. I mean, maybe this is a good lesson for them to, to know that even though the community loves Universal, which, one of the things they tried to bring out was, hey, we employ over 21,000 people or something like that, and so on and so forth. But which they were trying to compare that to the 1,000 that, Skyplex is going to get in there. But I mean, the community clearly showed that they would not, they wanted this to happen. They would not be, just because Universal is a big corporation in town, they would not let them, take control of this whole thing. So it was a really good message, I think, that was sent to Universal from Orlando to say, hey, we love what you do for us, but, we're going to keep you, you can only do so much.
I think that what we saw today is 15, 20 years ago, what Universal or what Disney would have said, everyone would have, said, Disney or Universal would have said, do this, and everyone in the community would have done it. And what we saw today was Orlando. I think that this was Orlando growing up and saying, we are more than just the major theme parks. Obviously, the major theme parks are still important to our community. But we don't always have to agree with you. And we can have a tourist industry here that isn't just based around the theme parks.
Agree.
So I think this was a major step in the maturing of our community.
I agree heavily. Well, I think unless there's anything else you can think about to ask Ken Ed, I don't think there's anything else I wanted to ask him about this project. I want to thank you for
there was one thing. Can I mention one other thing I found interesting?
What?
We've all seen the more recent fly-through video. It was released last week, I believe, week before. Warwick today, he talked about the Perkins, but the buildings along I-Drive there, going up to where the Burger King is, in that fly-through rendering, he did say that those buildings in the video were just placeholders, and that the actual buildings that will go there will be much more ornate. So I found that interesting.
And the Popeyes and all that is going to close.
No, the Popeyes and the
Fish Bones.
Fish Bones. That's separate property.
Okay.
He tried his best to buy that property. The Popeyes was unwilling to sell. You can't buy property from someone who doesn't want to sell it to you. So yeah, but this buildings. This would go where technically it would go where the 7-Eleven and the Burger King are.
Okay, I got you.
But yeah, look at the video. The buildings look kind of nice in the video there, but that is not the final design of that. That video was more of a what'd you call it? A
rendering.
Just of a vision, more of a vision statement of what was happening. Don't look at that video for specifics of what will happen.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it. We want to thank Ken for joining us this week on our podcast this week. And this is the type of stuff that we debate every week on the Orlando Tourism Report on Thursdays on 91.5 WPRK on the radio here in Orlando, and on WPRK.org. You can listen to our show live from 10 till noon, and we debate this stuff. And this week is going to be awesome because Joshua Wallach is coming on the show. So it'll be great to talk to him and get his perspective on all the stuff that has happened. And
he promised me that there will be some brand new announcements that no one has heard before.
Well, that'll be awesome.
We will have some breaking news.
So you need to listen this week to the Orlando Tourism Report. It's really awesome. And the last time we had Joshua Wallach on there was, I mean, I was just blown away. It was the best show that I have ever been a part of. And even better than the stuff that I've done. I bow down to Ken because it was literally the best interview that ever. And I had multiple people tell me that it was
just, he's an amazing person. Like when you get him talking, like he's an amazing person. You can also find the show on the TuneIn app. So we are live on the TuneIn app.
You found it.
Yes. And you can also find Orlando Tourism Report on iTunes. We take the radio shows and some other things that we throw in there and put that on there as well. And a couple of things to note on the Orlando Tourism Report. We have the Trends Report by Jake, which is always really interesting, which is a rundown of things happening on like Twitter and stuff like that, and all across the, what's going on there. And we have a new segment that we've been doing on the Orlando Tourism Report with Kevin Yee, who's been on my podcast before. He does sort of a history behind stuff, and it's actually it's a very interesting segment and one of the best segments that I think I've ever heard, and it's just so well done.
This week's he will have the history of bare steel roller coasters in Central Florida. So I have not listened to it, but he will be talking about exposed roller coasters such as Skyscraper Skyplex, or the Sky Coaster of what's it called? Is it Sky Coaster?
Sky Coaster, yeah.
Things like that. And he told me I haven't listened to it, but he told me that he talks about the history of roller coasters at Universal as well. So that will be an interesting one.
And you know what? Here, just because I have you on here, Ken, if you don't mind for a second, I think what I'll do here is I will, if you don't mind, I'll ask your permission, of course. I have last week's Kevin Yee segment I could do as a little teaser here for the show. If you want to do that. Okay, I think I have that right here. So I'm going to play that right now for you guys so you can hear this. This is actually it's just fantastic. So here it is, Kevin Yee's little segment here. I'm pretty sure this is a file, so I'm going to go with this one here.
Welcome, everybody. In this week's Bigger Picture, I'd like to talk about the holiday season at Walt Disney World. It's been about a week or more now that the Very Merry Christmas Parade and Party have started at the Magic Kingdom. As you know, this is a private party that takes place in the evening. It's a hard ticket event, and you have to pay for it. $74 or $79 most nights, actually. And it includes new things like a parade and a holiday version of Wishes and meeting characters you can't normally meet and so on. And so people enjoy it. They do get to get into the park as early as 4, although the private party part doesn't start until 7. And it's largely the entertainment, I think, that draws a lot of people coming to it. Now, what people may not realize, although I think certainly some locals do, is that the week of Christmas and the week immediately after Christmas, a lot of the stuff that you're paying for at the party is available for everyone. The parks just stay open later, and they do show that Christmas parade, and they do show the fireworks. Now, the Christmas parade is being shown in the daytime, not in the nighttime, so there's a little difference to it, if that matters much, I guess. But that other than that, it could be made the argument that you're paying for the free cookies and unlimited hot chocolate that you get at the private party itself. Well, I guess it also snows on Main Street, but that's not really worth the price of the ticket for some people. But for others it is, especially if you're coming from out of town and you're willing to start the day at 4 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock. It just replaces your ticket for the day. Now, it's not only the Magic Kingdom which gets into the spirit, of course. Epcot is big in this as well. They have the Holidays Around the World celebration, which you could think of as having different Santa Clauses in each of the countries in World Showcase. It used to be they would also have kind of an arch structure and light and music display called Lights of Winter. That was right in the connecting bridge between Future World and World Showcase. It was deemed outdated technology a few years ago and just quietly discontinued with nothing new. But of course, for me, the big draw of the holidays at Epcot is what they do to illuminations. They have a special finale. They call it the Holiday Tag, tag meaning something tagged onto the end of it, that has, kind of going around the different countries of World Showcase and saying a little bit about them, and then just a bunch of fireworks and a lot of extra fireworks. In fact, it's so many fireworks that it is awe-inspiring. And to give you a sense of how many fireworks we're talking about exploding literally all at once, it's helpful to know that the barges they use, they bring in extra barges just for these, they're called World War III barges. And so we're talking thousands of shells exploding just within seconds. It's amazing. It's not just the parks, though. It's not just those two parks. We've also got Disney's Hollywood Studios, which gets into it. It's the last year of Osborne Lights, Dancing Lights at Osborne. They're being discontinued, presumably for construction. One guesses the Star Wars land. And so we won't see them again after this season. People are starting to speculate amongst each other online, especially, what will they do with all of those lights? Disney owns them now. Could they put them somewhere else? And there seems to be some consensus that Disney Springs, the former Downtown Disney, would be a good place for them, because then they could be experienced maybe even all year round and really get people talking and going to that place to shop. And that would be a win-win. I hope they do something like that, but I've not heard any actual rumors to this effect. Now, beyond the parks, you do have the resort hotels that get into things. So I'm thinking especially of the Grand Floridian, which has that giant gingerbread house each year. There's also a display of a giant train set over at the Yacht Club. Over at the Swan, you've got a giant set made out of chocolate. Actually, it smells wonderful in there. And little things like that in each one of the resort hotels. So Disney really does kind of dress its place up for the holiday season. What do the other parks do? Well, Universal has Grinchmas, but it's smaller scale, and it doesn't really have quite the same oomph as all of the Disney offerings. SeaWorld has gotten into the spirit a lot more lately, and you could think of their offerings as being very based around the Christmas lights. They have lights on so many trees around the parks, around their park, that it feels like you're constantly surrounded by Christmas lights. They do also have a highly interesting nativity show called A Wondrous Night. So there is a religious component to it, of course. And some of the songs are religious, but they have live animals, which are pretty impressive, actually, when you see the way they do it. It would be remiss of me not to mention the ice show at Gaylord Palms. This is a resort hotel famous mostly for the ice show, actually. It's just off Disney property on Osceola, so the same street that you would take to go to Animal Kingdom, a giant resort just off of Disney property there. And this is where they bring in Chinese ice carvers from Harbin, China, and for weeks at a time, and they carve all of these intricate things, always new, always different, always colored, and so forth, every year. It's an upcharge event. It's somewhat expensive, actually, but it is something interesting to see if you've never seen ice carving before. Now, despite that interesting display over at Gaylord Palms, I think it is hard in general to beat Disney stuff, especially the stuff that's included in the price of admission already. So the stuff at Epcot and the stuff at Hollywood Studios. The SeaWorld competition has stepped up, and with Osborne leaving, Disney may soon lose some of the domination when it comes to what is free. The party still sells very well, though. So apparently the market seems to feel that it's worth the cost. And as you know, if you're Disney, you do what the market will bear. Well, the market has been able to bear this extra cost. And so I could imagine a day coming where Disney just does a little bit less and less with the included stuff and just focus more and more on the private party, because that gives them extra sales.
So that was Kevin Yee's segment there from that we have on the show every week, The Bigger Picture, which is as you can hear is one of the best segments that I've ever heard. The recording is absolutely fantastic. I think he does it in a box somewhere. It sounds really good, much better than anything I've ever done. And he speaks so eloquently that you want to listen to the whole thing. So this is just a preview of what you can expect on the Orlando Tourism Report on WPRK. We all speak very eloquently, and we get into these really intense debates, and it really is a unique show, and you have to check it out. It really is great, and Thanks to Ken for being on here. I call him the Ken of knowledge because he knows so much about what's going on around Orlando and so on and so forth. And it's really fascinating to.
I met a guy today though, who is from Oklahoma, I believe it was, and he may know more about Central Florida than I do. Like, he was throwing facts out, and I was like, whoa, slow down. It was amazing. So we traded contact info. So I may have a new buddy.
Well, thanks again for being on our show. And before we go here, we want to thank our sponsors one more time. We want to thank Orlando Stroller Rentals. They make your Orlando area vacation roll smoothly with help from the best Orlando stroller company. Best Orlando stroller rental company. Everyone in your family will enjoy their vacation to the world-famous theme parks, especially the kids. Rent a clean, comfortable stroller from Orlando Stroller Rental to travel with throughout your Orlando theme park vacation. Their strollers were built to easily maneuver crowds and narrow attraction queue lines with ease. Whether you're park hopping or shopping at the outlet malls, you always have a safe, comfortable, and clean place for tired children to take a quick nap. Visit them today at OrlandoStrollerRentals.com. It's OrlandoStrollerRentals.com or call 1-800-281-0884. That's 1-800-281-0884. And make sure to check out Kingdom Consultant Travel. They're your experts in Disney travel. Vacations require a lot of time planning, which many of us just don't have. So let the experts at Kingdom Consultants Travel do the work for you. And best of all, they don't charge a fee for their services, whether it's a trip to Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, or an Adventures by Disney luxury guided tour. Kingdom Consultants Travel allows you to kick back and relax, leaving the planning to those who know it best. Kingdom Consultant Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner. Keep them in mind for your non-Disney travel. Also, visit them today at kingdomconsultant.com. That's consultant with a K, kingdomconsultant.com. Or toll free at 1-866-566-7858. That's 1-866-566-7858. And we're going to send you into our next. We want to thank MapleLeafTickets.com. They've been providing discount Orlando area attraction tickets for more than 30 years. Visit them today at MapleLeafTickets.com. Or call 1-800-841-2837. That's 1-800-841-2837 or at MapleLeafTickets.com. Make sure you check them out today to save on your Orlando area attraction tickets. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's show. We want to thank Ken for being here once again. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you, Ken, and picking your brain about this whole Skyplex thing. And we're just glad that it's happening. And if I remember correctly, you have some champagne and tacos to dive into here. I don't know if you've opened the champagne yet.
I have not opened the champagne yet, but I have finished the tacos.
Oh, he has finished the tacos. Well, if you want to open the champagne on the air here, that lovely pop in the back.
I do want to plug one thing before we go, if that's okay.
Whatever you want, sir.
So, ropedrop.net, John Kivas, excellent website covering Disney and covering those who cover Disney. But I did a 3-part interview talking about the past, present, and future of Orlando. And part 3 will go up on Wednesday morning. So part 1 went up last week, part 2 went up Monday, and part 3 will go up on Wednesday morning. So if you are interested in what we talked about tonight, make sure you check out that interview on ropedrop.net.
And always make sure to check out us on WPRK 91.5, the best in basement radio, on the voice of Rollins College, on WPRK.org or WPRK 91.5. And you can listen to us on the radio on Thursdays from 10 till noon. We have lots of stuff to talk about, and we play some pretty cool music on our breaks. And
we have a full lineup for December. I just filled the last spot today.
And we have a full lineup. And we also have a little backstage information. Most of you may not know this, but every time there is music on the radio, you can imagine me. I cannot sit there for 2 hours in the radio. I don't know why. I have to go. I have a weak bladder or something. I don't know. I'm always out. It's weird. I don't know. backstage weirdness. Why did I just say that? I don't know.
Or you can watch it on Periscope and live on
Periscope
YouTube.
Me leaving every
10
minutes.
And when we play music, we like to gossip in the studio. So, yeah.
We have said things on Periscope that we probably should have said.
Including giving out my passwords to my social media.
We did do this once. I remember this. But now, actually, we do take the, for those of you watching on YouTube Live, we do actually do this broadcast on YouTube, too. So that's another thing to look for us is having this on YouTube when we do our broadcasts on Thursday. So we stream it live on YouTube as well, which you can find on our YouTube page. So check that out too. But that's going to do it for this week's show. We're going to send you out with a little Space Mountain music. And we want to thank you guys for joining us. And thank you, Ken, once again for being here. And we will see you guys next week. And I'll let Ken lead us out here with his say the famous quote, Ken. We need it from you, the famous final quote. That is all Ken's story.
Love your city. Eat your tacos.
There we go. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. All right, everybody. Thank you, everyone who joined us on YouTube. I see we have 2 viewers right now. Thank you to everyone who joined us on YouTube. I don't have the chat up, so I can't see if you guys are chatting. Let me see if I can pull it up on my YouTube page to see if you guys have commented.
It was mostly Jen and me. So
okay,
Jen and I, we chatted back and forth a lot.
Oh, well, there you go.
I think Jen is
I don't even know. I can't even remember how to get to the dang chat on this thing.
It should be the top right.
Shows you. Oh, wait. Oh, the chat icon in here?
I don't
see it. Oh, okay. There was a group chat. I have no idea. I've used the YouTube Live guys for so long, and I still don't know how to work this freaking thing. So I don't know. But hey, we're here. We're live. Thank you guys for joining us. And let me see. Let me go into events here and see. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Ken, for being.
After we're done, can you stick around for a split second?
I can.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'm going to cut this off right now. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will be back later. I'll be back next week. All right, bye, guys.